Right, I just thought I would throw my opinion in around the Elon Musk takeover of Twitter. Just a pretty short video this probably, but just because everybody's talking about it, I thought, yeah, throw my opinion in there for what it's worth. Don't know too much about it, but just some general points. I'll just start off with Twitter. I don't like it. It's an effective symbol of the age, really. An age where people really struggle or don't want to talk to each other, don't want respectful discourse, don't want to explore ideas, don't want to find the truth of the matter, whatever the subject at hand, don't want to explore concepts and ideas, just want to shout at each other to be right and to parrot other people's messages. You know, Twitter is very much a marker of a society or section of society that is narcissistic, attention-seeking, insular, intolerant and infantile. And you can see that when you go on Twitter. You know, I don't have a Twitter account, very rarely go on there, because as I say, I think a communications platform whereby you're limited in what you can say in terms of the number of words and characters you can use. You know, how is that ever going to be a platform whereby, you know, solutions are found through conversation? Well, it's not, is it? It's going to be divisive. It's going to attract a particular type of person, and it's certainly going to be very it's going to detract from the society. And I think it's hard for anybody to make the case that Twitter in particular has improved society in any way. I think it's made things a lot worse, because as I say, it seems to draw out these attention-seeking, narcissistic and infantile, aggressive, intolerant, insular tendencies in a lot of people. So I don't like Twitter, but that's just me, you know. It is what it is. Another point to make is, quite clearly, like everything else, and I do mean nearly everything else, talk about this a lot, it's been taken over by the far left, by the communists, the establishment, the deep state, you know, World Economic Forum and all that. It's very driven, as far as I can see, or very similar, underpinned by communist ideology, working in tandem with kind of like tech and big pharma, cartelism, so very unethical, hawkish capitalism, which probably for the first time in history, that's the first time in history that a population has been subject to that very what seems like a counterintuitive pincer movement. But don't forget, wealth inequality. You know, people label capitalism as as being leading to very unequal societies in terms of wealth, and there's obviously a very good point to be had there and a conversation to be had. Don't forget, the biggest wealth inequality political economic ideology is communism. So working the worst excesses of both. That's why you're seeing a flight of capital away from the ordinary person. I don't like that phrase, but from, I don't know, the lower middle classes to the millionaires, billionaires, and why these big huge companies such as the tech companies, the Amazons and all the rest of it are growing exponentially. So there's a little bit of background as far as I can see it there. The hysteria and the wailing and the outpouring of vitriol that's gone on since this takeover by Elon Musk, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me, it doesn't shock me. It's what I'd expect, because, you know, as I've talked a lot of times, there is a severe mental illness, very prevalent across the Western world right now, and you see that mental illness, you see the symptoms of that in places like Twitter. So just a couple of general points, and I don't know much about what Elon Musk's share is in Twitter. I don't know about the details of it. I'm not interested, to be honest with you. I'm just interested more in the reaction, as well as touch on free speech and whether we're in a better place now or a worse place. So, you know, these children, these spoilt toddlers who want everything their way, and who literally cannot abide to hear an opinion that's an iota different from that which has been drilled into them, and they are millions around us, these people. So the first thing they're saying is this is a threat to freedom and democracy. Well, if that's your opinion, fine, but please explain how. Because just because a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, takes over a company, Twitter's a company, obviously this is a company that's very, very influential in forming opinion and swinging elections or deciding elections, right, but you need to explain why that is. So don't just say those words, don't just say that, explain how, right? Then can we also apply that, if you can't explain it, can we apply that to the other big tech platforms as well then? So Google, YouTube, Facebook, to name 3, because as far as I can see, they're also all owned by multi-billionaires. So, but they continue to stand against free speech, those platforms, and different types of opinion that stray from the established narrative, from the establishment narrative. So are we going to apply that argument to the other big tech platforms as well? And while we're at it, isn't it interesting how these, I'm not even going to call them lefties, these woke militant rabid communists, because that's what they are. Isn't it interesting how they purport to stand against hawkish capitalism? You know, they stand for the people, with the people, you know, unite for the common good. Well, they're also the same people who are most embracing, who had such fervour about wearing masks, getting tests, getting jabs. Isn't that interesting? Because who's making those masks? Private companies. Who's making those tests? Private companies. Who's making those jabs? Private companies, worth billions and billions and billions of pounds, with large monopolies across their sectors, and with CEOs worth multi-billion pounds. So if you've got a problem with multi-billionaires taking over companies, right, what have you got to say about that? Do you have any concerns around, you know, do you have any concerns around things such as conflict of interest? Do you have any concerns around things such as potential monopolisation of sectors and elimination of competition? Do you have any concerns around corruption? Do you have any concerns that with the wealth inequality that you are so keen on exposing, that's clearly the case in other areas as well? You know, something else that these people say when Trump was ludicrously barred from Twitter. I mean, obviously he's not the only one. There's a lot of people who have been barred from Twitter, but the cry was, it's a private company, so they're answerable to nobody, and they can operate as they like. All right then, if that's your take, if that's your angle, then what's the difference now? Why is it a problem all of a sudden that a private company is deciding to do what it wants in the private sector, implementing its own values? Why is that suddenly a problem now? Why are you not using that same argument to be consistent? You know, to be consistent in your opinion, you have to, you know, stick to your opinion. Surely you can't just contradict yourself. Surely not. And just the general, as I say, outpouring of anger and vitriol and venom. It demonstrates and illustrates a society that's really become so detached from actual real life so beholden to narratives that are decided for them that it's beyond ludicrous. It is utter lunacy. Now, of course, what this cuts right to, why people are reacting in this deranged and unhinged way, is because they know that as of now, the ability to speak freely there is more of an ability for people to speak freely on that platform than there was last week. And what these childish and brainwashed and intolerant communists fear most are words. They really do fear words. They fear opinion. They fear ideas. They fear debate. They fear logic. They fear reason. They fear authenticity. They fear courage, because all they recognise is doctrine and ideology. And it's easy to follow a doctrine and an ideology because it's all being decided for you. Every thought is implanted in your head. Your debate consists of slogans and sound bites. And you know, on places like Twitter, as of last week, that you will have people, the majority on there, if not everybody, backing you up. So you're safe in your intolerant doublespeak on Twitter, because there are no fresh ideas. Because those fresh ideas that some people do want to bring to Twitter are not permitted on the platform. So all of a sudden now, your ego has been broken right open, and you maybe now are going to have to examine some of those beliefs and think them through. And not only takes some intelligence to do that, but it also relies on the ego being challenged. And on both counts, these people, communists are incapable. They cannot do it. They don't even recognise free speech as a thing. They've got no idea what the ego is, even though they have the biggest egos in the world, because they've got no self-awareness, because they've got no soul. They've got no intellect. They've got no soul. They've got nothing. They're dead. They're dead inside. That's why these communists, when taken to the logical conclusion, why they think nothing of killing, because they don't value life. They don't value speech. They don't value life. They don't value anything. So with all that in mind, along comes Elon Musk. Now, I can't remember whether I said at the start, on the face of it, it appears to me now that on that platform you can speak more freely than you could last week. So that can't be a bad thing. Thinking logically, that's not a bad thing now, because there seems to be people saying that Elon Musk is all part of the globalist setup, you know, part of the New World Order. This is all an illusion, you know, letting us think that he's on our side. When in reality he's controlled opposition. Now, I don't know whether he is or he isn't. And this thing about controlled opposition and shills is something that just does my head in. It's annoying. It gets on my nerves, because I don't care. I just don't care. Let people say what they want, right? Give them a platform to say it, and then pick the little bits of truth that resonate with you to help you form your own opinion. And then, you know, as I always say, I think use your first-hand real-world reality to form your opinion on the world. But anyway, that's just me getting on my soapbox. So, is he controlled opposition or not? Don't know, and I don't care. But more people can speak freely. So, is this a win for free speech? Well, yes, it is. Objectively, yes. Feel free to disagree if you want with that. I don't actually know so far. I can't give you any examples of people who've had their accounts restored, but I think people, quite prominent people, have or are in the process of, so that's got to be good. And there was one last point I was going to make. What was it? About all of this. No, I think that's it now. There was something else I was going to say. Like I say, I'm not an expert on this. I don't know about Elon Musk. I know he's the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, and that he's one of the richest men in the world. But to just give Twitter a little bit of a shake up, to allow more people to speak freely on there, well, we're going to say that's a win for us. It's not a bad thing. And who knows? Who knows? You cannot rule out that this might be the start of the pendulum swinging back the other way, because that is going to happen. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That applies to everything, and that will happen in time. The pendulum is going to swing. We just don't want it to swing too far, because, you know, that'll create its own problems, but there will be. The pendulum will swing back, and we will ultimately, whether in a month, a year, 10 years, 50 years, we will enter into a new age of conversation, connection and community. Who knows whether this may be the start of it? Who knows? I don't know. I can't predict the future. I don't even really know what I'm talking about with this video. I'm just a few different opinions there. Few different opinions for you to either agree or disagree with. So let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.